What if the very thing you've been chasing is waiting for you to stop chasing it? What if the struggle, the worry, the constant effort to force life into a specific shape has been the very thing standing between you and what you desire? Most people spend their lives running after something. They chase success, relationships, money, recognition, opportunities, and happiness. They believe that if they work harder, think harder, worry harder, and push harder, they will eventually arrive at the life they want. But have you ever noticed that the more desperate you become for something, the more distant it seems? The more you obsess over it, the more it consumes your thoughts. The more you try to control it, the more frustrated you become. This happens because chasing often comes from a hidden belief, the belief that something important is missing. And when you live from that belief, you continue experiencing life through the lens of lack. But there is another way, a quieter way, a more powerful way. It is the path of letting go, not giving up, not settling, not abandoning your dreams, but releasing the fear, the pressure, and the attachment that keep you trapped in struggle. True power is not found in forcing life. True power is found in trusting it. It is found in becoming so rooted in your inner certainty that you no longer need constant proof from the outside world. When you stop chasing, you stop announcing that you lack. When you stop forcing, you stop resisting. When you stop clinging, you create space. And in that space, something extraordinary begins to happen. You become receptive, you become aligned, you become available to receive. Today, we are going to explore the power of letting go. We will discover why detachment is not weakness but strength, why trust is more powerful than force, and why some of life's greatest blessings arrive the moment you stop trying to make them happen. So take a deep breath. Release the tension you have been carrying. Let go of the need to control every outcome. And prepare to discover why, when you stop chasing, you start receiving. One of the greatest obstacles to receiving what you desire is not a lack of opportunity, resources, talent, or support. It is the habit of identifying with lack. Many people spend their lives defining themselves by what they do not have. They constantly focus on what is missing, what has not happened yet, what they wish were different, and what they believe stands between them and their dreams. Without realizing it, they build an identity around absence rather than possibility. This habit often begins subtly. A person may look at their finances and think, I don't have enough. They may look at their relationships and think, I'm still alone. They may look at their goals and think, I'm not where I want to be. While these observations may seem harmless, when repeated day after day, they become more than thoughts. They become assumptions. And assumptions, when accepted long enough, begin shaping the way a person experiences life. The mind has a remarkable tendency to seek evidence for whatever it believes. If you identify with lack, your attention naturally gravitates toward what is missing. You notice every delay, every setback, every obstacle, and every reason why something may not work out. Opportunities may exist around you, but your focus remains fixed on limitations. Possibilities may be present, but your awareness is trained to notice problems. This is why chasing often becomes exhausting. When you identify with lack, every desire feels distant. Every goal feels difficult. Every dream feels just beyond your reach. The more you focus on what is absent, the more emotionally attached you become to the feeling of waiting. Many people spend years saying they want abundance while continually feeling poor. They say they want love while continually feeling unloved. They say they want success while continually feeling inadequate. Their words express desire, but their identity remains attached to lack. The challenge is not simply to think differently. The challenge is to see yourself differently. Ask yourself, Who am I when I stop defining myself by what I do not have? This question has the power to change everything. You are not your current bank balance. You are not your past disappointments. You are not your temporary circumstances. You are not the setbacks you have experienced. You are not the limitations you have accepted. Those things may describe experiences you have had, but they do not define your true potential. The moment you stop identifying with lack, you begin creating space for a new identity to emerge. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who is waiting for life to improve, begin seeing yourself as someone who is growing every day. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who lacks opportunity, begin seeing yourself as someone who is open to possibility. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who is incomplete, begin seeing yourself as someone who is already valuable and worthy. This shift is not about ignoring reality. It is about refusing to let temporary circumstances determine your identity. Think about how different your life would feel if you stopped measuring yourself by external conditions. Imagine waking up each morning with the understanding that your worth is not dependent upon achievements, possessions, or approval from others. Imagine carrying a quiet confidence that exists regardless of what is happening around you. This confidence changes the way you move through the world. You stop acting from desperation. You stop seeking constant validation. You stop making fear-based decisions. You stop chasing because you no longer believe something outside of you is required to complete you. The truth is that many people chase because they believe fulfillment exists somewhere in the future. They tell themselves that happiness will arrive after they achieve a goal, earn more money, find the right relationship, or gain recognition. Until then, they continue living in a state of waiting. But fulfillment is not a destination, it is a state of being. The more you cultivate feelings of gratitude, confidence, peace, and self-worth now, the less dependent you become on external circumstances for emotional security. And when emotional security comes from within, your relationship with life begins to change. You become more patient. You become more resilient. You become more open to opportunities. You become less fearful of outcomes. Most importantly, you stop broadcasting the energy of lack. Instead of constantly announcing to yourself that something is missing, you begin affirming that life is full of possibility. You begin appreciating what you already have. You begin recognizing your strengths. You begin trusting your ability to grow and evolve. And from this new state, receiving becomes easier because you are no longer approaching life from emptiness. You are approaching life from wholeness. So today, release the habit of identifying with what is missing. Release the belief that your current circumstances define you. Release the story that says you are incomplete. Choose a new perspective. Choose a new identity. Choose to see yourself as capable, worthy, and whole. Because the moment you stop identifying with lack is the moment you stop chasing life. And when you stop chasing, you become available to receive the abundance, opportunities, and experiences that were waiting for you all along. One of the most exhausting habits a person can develop is the constant need to control every outcome. Many people spend their lives trying to manage every detail of their future. They want to know exactly how things will happen, when they will happen, and what every step along the way will look like. They believe that if they can control enough variables, they can guarantee success, avoid disappointment, and protect themselves from uncertainty. Yet instead of creating peace, this habit often creates anxiety, frustration, and emotional exhaustion. The truth is that life was never meant to be controlled in this way. There is a difference between having a vision and trying to control every detail of its unfolding. Having a vision provides direction. Obsessive control creates resistance. One inspires confidence, the other feeds fear. One allows growth, the other creates tension. Think about how much energy people spend worrying about things that have not happened yet. They analyze conversations before they occur. They imagine problems before they exist. They rehearse failures before taking action. Their mind constantly searches for certainty in a world where certainty can never be fully guaranteed. As a result, they become trapped in a cycle of overthinking. The more they think, the more they worry. The more they worry, the more they try to control. The more they try to control, the more anxious they become. This cycle can continue for years unless a person learns a different approach. The power of letting go begins when you recognize that not everything requires your control. Some things require your trust. Trust is often misunderstood. Many people assume trust means doing nothing. They believe that letting go means becoming passive or indifferent. But trust is not passivity. Trust is confidence without constant interference. It is the ability to take appropriate action while releasing the need to force results. Imagine planting a seed in the ground. Once the seed is planted, you water it and provide the right conditions for growth. But you do not dig it up every day to check its progress. You do not demand immediate results. You do not panic because you cannot yet see the roots developing beneath the surface. You trust the process. Life works much the same way. There are times when action is necessary. There are decisions to make, responsibilities to fulfill, and opportunities to pursue. But after you have done what you can, there comes a point when you must release your grip and allow life to unfold. Many people struggle with this because control gives them a temporary sense of security. They believe that if they worry enough, they are being responsible. If they think about something constantly, they are helping it happen. If they monitor every detail, they are protecting themselves. But excessive control often produces the opposite effect. It creates stress, it clouds judgment, it weakens confidence. It keeps attention fixed on fear rather than possibility. When you let go of the need to control every outcome, you free yourself from this burden. You stop demanding that life follow a specific script. You stop insisting that every event unfold according to your expectations. You stop believing that your peace depends upon perfect circumstances. Instead, you develop a deeper sense of trust. You trust your ability to adapt. You trust your ability to learn. You trust your ability to handle challenges if they arise. Most importantly, you trust that life can move in ways beyond your current understanding. Think about the opportunities that have appeared unexpectedly in your life. Think about the people you met by chance. Think about the moments that changed everything, even though you never planned them. Some of the most meaningful experiences often arrive through paths we could never have predicted. This is why control has limits. Your mind can imagine only a fraction of what is possible. Life is often working through channels you cannot yet see. When you release the need to control every detail, you become open to those possibilities. You become less attached to timelines. You become less fearful of delays. You become less reactive to temporary setbacks. Instead of seeing every obstacle as a sign of failure, you begin seeing it as part of a larger process. This shift creates emotional freedom. You no longer spend every day trying to force outcomes. You no longer carry the impossible responsibility of managing every aspect of life. You no longer measure your progress solely by immediate results. Instead, you move forward with calm confidence. You take action when necessary. You remain committed to your vision, but you release the fear that tells you everything depends upon your constant control. So today, consider what you have been trying to force. Consider what you have been worrying about. Consider where you have been demanding certainty. Then take a deep breath and let go. Not because you do not care, not because you have given up, but because you understand something powerful. The more you trust, the less you need to control. And the less you need to control, the more space you create for life to surprise you with possibilities greater than anything you could have planned on your own. That is the true freedom found in letting go. One of the most powerful shifts a person can make is learning to live from the feeling of already having, rather than constantly longing for what they desire. Most people spend their lives focused on what is missing. They think about the goals they have not achieved, the opportunities they have not received, the relationships they do not yet have, and the circumstances they wish were different. Their attention remains fixed on the gap between where they are and where they want to be. As a result, they continue experiencing the emotional state of waiting. Waiting can become a habit. A person waits for success before feeling successful. They wait for love before feeling loved. They wait for abundance before feeling secure. They wait for recognition before feeling valuable. They believe their emotional fulfillment depends entirely upon future events. But this way of living creates a subtle problem. When your emotions are dependent upon future outcomes, you remain trapped in a state of lack. You continue telling yourself, consciously or unconsciously, that what you desire is absent. The desire itself is not the problem. The problem is identifying with the feeling of not having it. This is why learning to live from the feeling of already having is so transformative. It changes your relationship with desire. Instead of constantly focusing on what is missing, you begin focusing on the emotional experience you seek. You stop waiting for circumstances to give you permission to feel fulfilled. Instead, you begin cultivating those feelings from within. Think about something you deeply desire. Perhaps it is financial freedom. Perhaps it is a thriving business. Perhaps it is a loving relationship. Perhaps it is improved health or greater peace of mind. Now ask yourself a simple question. How would I feel if this desire were already fulfilled? Would you feel relieved? Would you feel grateful? Would you feel confident? Would you feel secure? Would you feel free? These emotions are the true essence of the desire. In reality, most people are not seeking money, success, relationships, or achievements for their own sake. They are seeking the feelings they believe those experiences will provide. The mistake is assuming those feelings can only exist after the external condition changes. What if you could experience those feelings now? What if gratitude did not need to wait? What if confidence did not need proof? What if peace did not depend on perfect circumstances? The moment you begin cultivating these emotions within yourself, something remarkable happens. Your state of being begins to change. And your state of being influences everything. It affects the way you think. It affects the way you speak. It affects the way you make decisions. It affects the opportunities you notice. It affects the energy you bring into every interaction. People who live from the feeling of already having carry themselves differently. They are not desperate because they do not feel empty. They are not constantly seeking validation because they do not feel incomplete. They are not consumed by fear because their emotional foundation is not dependent upon immediate results. Instead, they move through life with a quiet confidence. This confidence is not arrogance. It is not denial. It is not pretending. It is simply the result of no longer identifying with lack. Imagine walking through your day with the emotional certainty that everything is unfolding in your favor. Imagine approaching challenges with calm confidence instead of panic. Imagine making decisions from trust rather than fear. Imagine feeling grateful before receiving visible evidence. This is the essence of living from the feeling of already having. It does not mean you stop pursuing goals. It does not mean you stop growing. It does not mean you become passive. Rather, It means you stop allowing your emotional state to be controlled by external circumstances. You become internally grounded. You learn to generate the feelings you seek rather than waiting for life to provide them. One of the easiest ways to practice this is through gratitude. Gratitude instantly shifts your attention from what is missing to what is present. It reminds you that abundance already exists in many forms. It trains your mind to recognize blessings instead of deficiencies. Another powerful practice is visualization. Spend a few moments each day imagining yourself already experiencing the outcome you desire. Focus less on the details and more on the feeling. Allow yourself to experience the relief, joy, gratitude, confidence, or peace that would naturally accompany fulfillment. The more familiar these emotions become, the more natural they feel. The more natural they feel, the more they become part of your identity. And when they become part of your identity, you stop chasing them outside yourself. You begin living from them. So today, stop postponing your fulfillment. Stop waiting for life to give you permission to feel whole. Stop believing that peace belongs only in the future. Choose gratitude now. Choose confidence now. Choose abundance now. Choose fulfillment now. Because the moment you begin living from the feeling of already having is the moment you stop chasing what you desire and start embodying it. And when you embody it consistently, you become far more receptive to the experiences that naturally reflect that state. That is the true power of living from the feeling of already having. One of the most important shifts you can make in life is moving from a reactive state to a receptive state. Most people spend their days reacting to everything around them. They react to circumstances, react to news, react to delays, react to criticism, react to unexpected challenges, and react to the opinions of others. Their emotional state constantly changes based on what is happening in the outer world. As a result, they often feel as though they are being controlled by life instead of consciously participating in it. A reactive mindset places your power outside of yourself. When you are reactive, your peace depends on circumstances. Your confidence depends on results. Your happiness depends on approval. Your sense of security depends on conditions that can change at any moment. This creates instability because the external world is always changing. There will always be unexpected situations, delays, setbacks, and uncertainties. If your emotional state is entirely dependent upon those conditions, then your inner world will constantly rise and fall with every event that occurs. A receptive mindset is different. Being receptive does not mean being passive. It does not mean ignoring reality or refusing to take action. Instead, it means remaining open, calm, and centered regardless of what is happening around you. It means responding intentionally rather than reacting automatically. It means creating enough inner space to choose your response instead of allowing circumstances to choose it for you. Think about a calm lake on a peaceful morning. When the surface is still, it reflects everything clearly. But when the water is constantly disturbed, the reflection becomes distorted. The mind works in much the same way. When you are constantly reacting emotionally, clarity becomes difficult. Fear, frustration, and anxiety cloud your judgment. You may overlook opportunities, misinterpret situations, or make decisions from a place of stress rather than wisdom. Receptivity creates clarity. When you remain calm and open, you can see possibilities that fear often hides. You become more aware of solutions. You become more attentive to opportunities. You become more capable of recognizing guidance and inspiration when it appears. Many people want to receive more from life, yet they spend most of their time resisting what is happening. They argue mentally with present circumstances. They complain about delays. They obsess over problems. They focus on what is wrong rather than what is possible. This resistance keeps them emotionally trapped. Receptivity begins when you stop fighting every moment. It begins when you stop demanding that life unfold exactly according to your expectations. It begins when you accept that not every challenge is an obstacle and not every delay is a denial. Sometimes what appears to be a setback is actually redirection. Sometimes what appears to be a delay is preparation. Sometimes what appears to be a problem is creating space for something better. A receptive person understands this. They remain open even when they do not have all the answers. They trust that clarity can emerge over time. They do not allow temporary appearances to determine their entire outlook. This attitude creates emotional resilience. Instead of becoming overwhelmed by every challenge, they remain grounded. Instead of panicking when things do not go according to plan, they adapt. Instead of reacting with fear, they respond with awareness. One of the greatest benefits of becoming receptive is that it allows you to notice opportunities that a reactive mind would miss. Opportunities often arrive quietly. They may appear as a conversation, an idea, an invitation, a new perspective, or an unexpected connection. A reactive mind is usually too distracted by fear or frustration to recognize them. A receptive mind is open enough to see them. This is why patience is so important. Patience is not waiting with frustration. Patience is waiting with trust. It is the ability to remain emotionally steady while life unfolds. It is the understanding that not everything needs to happen immediately. Patience creates receptivity because it removes the pressure to force results. As you move through life, practice becoming more aware of your reactions. Notice when fear tries to take control. Notice when frustration begins to dominate your thoughts. Notice when you feel the urge to force an outcome. Then pause. Take a breath. Return to the present moment. Remind yourself that you do not need to react to everything. You can choose your response. You can choose trust. You can choose calmness. You can choose openness. The more often you make these choices, the more receptive you become. And the more receptive you become, the more life seems to flow. You begin attracting experiences that match your inner state. You begin recognizing opportunities that were always there. You begin moving through challenges with greater wisdom and confidence. So today, release the habit of constant reaction. Release the need to fight every circumstance. Release the urge to control every detail. Instead, become receptive, become open, become patient, become aware. Trust that life has more possibilities available to you than you can currently see. And remember, some of the greatest blessings enter your life not when you force them to appear, but when you become calm enough, clear enough, and receptive enough to receive them. One of the most liberating truths you can embrace is the understanding that what truly belongs to you does not need to be chased endlessly. So many people move through life believing that every good thing must be pursued with constant effort, worry, and struggle. They fear that if they stop pushing, stop forcing, or stop obsessing, they will lose their chance. As a result, they spend years living in a state of tension, always reaching, always striving, and always wondering whether they are doing enough. But there is another way to live. There is a way of moving through life with confidence rather than desperation, with trust rather than fear, and with peace rather than constant anxiety. This way begins when you understand that what is genuinely aligned with your growth, your purpose, and your highest good does not require endless chasing. It requires openness, readiness, and trust. Many people confuse trust with passivity. They think trusting means sitting back and doing nothing. They assume that letting go means abandoning responsibility. But true trust is very different. Trust does not eliminate action. It transforms the energy behind your actions. When you act from fear, every step feels heavy. You are constantly worried about outcomes. You second guess yourself. You seek immediate results to reassure yourself that everything is working. But when you act from trust, your actions feel lighter. You still move forward. You still take opportunities. You still pursue your goals. The difference is that you are no longer driven by panic or desperation. You trust that your efforts matter. You trust that your growth matters. You trust that life can bring opportunities in ways you cannot yet see. Think about how much energy is wasted worrying about things that have not happened. People spend hours imagining worst case scenarios. They create problems in their minds before any real problem exists. They become emotionally attached to fears about the future, and those fears steal their peace in the present. Yet most of those imagined fears never happen. What if that energy were redirected into trust? What if, instead of constantly asking, what if it doesn't work out, you began asking, what if everything is unfolding better than I can currently see? This simple shift changes the quality of your life. Trust allows you to relax your grip on outcomes. It allows you to release the belief that you must control every detail. It allows you to focus on becoming rather than forcing. And becoming is where true transformation occurs. The person who trusts does not spend all day chasing opportunities. Instead, they focus on developing themselves. They cultivate confidence, wisdom, gratitude, patience, and self-respect. They become the kind of person who naturally recognizes and receives opportunities when they appear. This is important because opportunities are often attracted to preparedness. The more you grow internally, the more capable you become of recognizing and receiving what life offers. Imagine a person who desperately wants success but constantly doubts themselves. Even when opportunities appear, they may hesitate, overthink, or talk themselves out of taking action. Their lack of trust becomes a barrier. Now imagine someone who trusts themselves and trusts life. They remain open. They remain confident. They remain willing to act when the moment arrives. Because they are not consumed by fear, they are able to receive what others may overlook. This is why inner trust is so powerful. It changes the way you perceive reality. It changes the way you respond to opportunities. It changes the way you move through uncertainty. Trust also helps you release unhealthy attachments. Sometimes people become attached to specific outcomes, specific timelines, or specific ways they think life must unfold. When reality does not match those expectations, they become discouraged. But trust allows flexibility. Trust understands that there may be paths you cannot yet see. Trust understands that delays are not always denials. Trust understands that life often works through unexpected channels. The greatest opportunities sometimes arrive from directions you never anticipated. The right relationship may appear unexpectedly. The right career opportunity may emerge suddenly. The right idea may come when you least expect it. The right breakthrough may occur after a period of waiting. This is why trust is not weakness. Trust is strength. It is the strength to remain calm when results are not immediate. It is the strength to stay focused on growth rather than fear. It is the strength to continue moving forward without needing constant reassurance. So today, release the burden of chasing everything. Release the fear that tells you life is running out of opportunities. Release the belief that your future depends entirely on force. Instead, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Focus on developing your character. Focus on strengthening your confidence. Focus on nurturing gratitude and peace. Trust that every step of growth is preparing you for what comes next. And remember this, what truly belongs to you cannot be lost through patience. What is aligned with your growth will not require endless struggle to find. What is meant for you often arrives when you are no longer acting from fear but from trust. So breathe deeply. Relax your grip on outcomes. Continue growing. continue believing, continue moving forward. And trust that what belongs to you is already finding its way toward you, just as you are finding your way toward it. Because when you stop chasing from fear and start living from trust, you become available to receive the very things you have been seeking all along. As we come to the end of this message, remember one simple truth: you do not need to force what is meant for you. For so long, you may have believed that success requires struggle, that fulfillment requires constant effort, and that happiness exists somewhere in the future waiting to be earned. But today you have been reminded of something different. You have been reminded that peace is available now. Confidence is available now. Fulfillment is available now. The power of letting go is not about becoming passive. It is about releasing the fear that tells you everything depends on your constant effort. It is about trusting that life can move in ways beyond your current understanding. When you stop chasing, you stop reinforcing lack. When you stop forcing, you stop creating resistance. When you stop obsessing, you create room for clarity. And when you create room for clarity, you become receptive to opportunities, solutions, and experiences that may have been hidden by fear and tension. Trust yourself. Trust your vision. Trust the unseen process unfolding beneath the surface. Allow yourself to move through life with greater peace and certainty. Continue taking inspired action when necessary, but release the desperate need to control every detail. The future does not need your fear. It needs your faith. The path ahead does not need your struggle. It needs your trust. And the life you desire does not require you to chase it endlessly. It requires you to become aligned with it. So leave today with a lighter heart. Leave today with a calmer mind. Leave today knowing that some of the greatest transformations occur not when you force them, but when you finally allow them. Let go, trust, receive, and watch how life begins to respond to the state you choose to live from. Because when you stop chasing, you create the space to receive everything that has been moving toward you all along. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If this message resonated with you, take a moment today to reflect on one thing you are ready to release. Perhaps it is a fear, a worry, a limiting belief, or the need to control an outcome. Whatever it may be, allow yourself the freedom to let it go. Remember, growth does not always come from doing more. Sometimes it comes from trusting more. Sometimes it comes from relaxing more. Sometimes it comes from finally releasing what no longer serves you. If you enjoyed this message, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone who may need this reminder today. I would also love to hear from you in the comments. What are you choosing to let go of today? Your answer may inspire someone else who is walking a similar path. Thank you again for being here and for sharing this journey. May you move forward with peace instead of pressure. May you move forward with trust instead of fear. May you move forward with confidence instead of doubt. And may you discover the incredible freedom that comes when you stop chasing and start receiving. Take care of yourself, stay inspired, and remember, what is truly meant for you does not need to be forced. It only needs to be received. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next message.